What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Tide Talk. It's Wednesday, April 16th, and we're here to discuss RIFC's first ever Open Cup win as the Tide hacked down the Portland Hearts of Pine 2-1 at Lewiston High School. Just a reminder that each episode of Tide Talk is available on YouTube, and if you're watching this now, please take a second to subscribe to our channel. YouTube is telling me that about 75% of you, nope, that's not true. 25% of you don't subscribe, and it would absolutely break my heart if that was actually true. And if you're watching this now, please hit that thumbs up as it helps the YouTube algorithm show Tide Talk to more people. You can also find us on your favorite podcast applications like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you're listening there, we really appreciate it if you left us a 5-star rating and a short review, as it helps more people find our podcast. One last plug. If you're not already on the RIFC Club Collector, which I really, if you're listening to this, I would be tremendously shocked to hear. Please check it out. It's incredibly fun and a free way to have some extra fun watching this team. Once you're there, enter code TIDETALK25 to get an exclusive pack to add to your collection. So everybody, let's cozy up. Let's crack a beer. And let's dive into this one. As you may have noticed, Matt is not on tonight. I do see him in the chat, though, so I'll definitely mix it up with him in there. But I am Ryan, and I will be playing host tonight. I am honored to be joined by some of Tide Talk's finest here to help me through this one. We'll start with everyone's favorite Tide Talk utility player, Andrew Quadros. Andrew, how's it going, man?
Going good. Feels good to have an Open Cup victory. Would have been nice if we got one last year, but it was a fun time last night. Doing well. My voice is like almost fully recovered from my fun weekend in Nashville. That my voice started to recover, and then we went to Portland last night, and it kind of went downhill this morning. So I think I'm ready for action for tonight.
I mean, we can get into this as we go, but I'm nervous that I wasn't in you use the offseason to try to get better. My voice did not get better in the offseason. I was like 10 minutes in, and I had no voice left.
I heard it cracking. It was.
I was hoping it wasn't too bad, but yeah.
You know, some pipes on him. Andrew Gomes. He was just like screaming off the top of his lungs, and I don't think he skipped a beat the whole game long. I'm seriously impressed.
Yeah, the man is always ready to be out there. But we also are joined by Mr. Player Ratings himself, Timmy Sclafani. Timmy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Nice to see you guys again. Had a good time last night, and I'm incredibly thirsty. I've been waiting to drink this seltzer for like 20 minutes. Thank you for starting the podcast.
That's right, folks. The bloggers are loose tonight, and honestly, I'm a little nervous about the chat. With all these are usually some of the core contributors in the chat, so I am going to need you all, if you're here live with us, to step it up tonight. Okay. But yeah, so leading up to this match, definitely, I think we all were collectively very excited about this one. Portland's a team that I don't think we've been very shy about saying is like a team we admire from afar. We're all big fans of the city itself. So, Andrew, we'll start with you. How was your pre-match festivities?
Yeah, it was great. So I headed up early. I left here around like 10 o'clock. So I was up around lunchtime, went to Bissell Brothers, got myself a bunch of beer, merch, lunch. And then afterwards headed out and met up with Matt Kerwin and his family and got a couple beers there and then did the pregame stuff. So it was good. I mean, if you're going to Portland, I mean, the number one thing for me is, food and beer. So it was good to hit up a couple breweries and then the craft beer underground place where the meetup was. Definitely met expectations. What I didn't realize though was that Lewiston is like 45 minutes away from Portland.
So absolutely threw me for a loop as well.
Yeah, like I figured it was close. So the fact that it was like that much further of a drive when you realize that it was like time to go and do the meetup and go to the game was a little bit off-putting. But no, it was good. I had a good time. Weather held up for the most part. When I got to Bissell Brothers, it was like sun shining. It was gorgeous. It did rain for a bit, as you saw in the broadcast, but it really didn't last that long. So it wasn't too bad there. But it was great. Really enjoy Portland and hope to go to more games up there, even if RIFC's not in them. Like I think it's going to be a fun team to support from afar.
Totally. And Andrew, I'm going to stick with you because you did mention the pregame boogie before the match. So the Dorigo Union, who is the supporters group for Portland, they've been awesome. They came to some RIFC matches last year. We're actively communicating with them. We did a preview episode with them ahead of the show. If you want to learn more about Portland and their club, definitely go check that out. But we did go to their pregame boogie, which I thought was really awesome. I'm exclusively keeping Timmy to the side here because we will talk about how he didn't make it to that. But
no, it was cool. The place itself, Craft Brew Underground, was a really cool spot. I mean, we're literally underground. You walk downstairs, you're in like this kind of dungy basement area, and there's binders everywhere. just filled with like every possible type of beer that you can think of. They had, so the selection was amazing. It was a really cool spot. I was playing foosball with some kids there, including Matt's kids and others. Had a few different drinks there, and the whole vibe was great. Getting to mingle with different people was great, both on both sides. Saw Tom Caron. So for all of you Red Sox and Bruins fans, probably recognize that name. So I believe he's a part owner of Portland, and saw him there taking a couple selfies with different fans that were there. So it was good. I mean, I think there's been a lot of respect between the two SGs, and being able to mingle with them before the game and talk to some of them and kind of hear about their experience so far was a really good time. And then it was a short hop over from the stadium from there.
For sure. I got there right in time to join the pregame boogie, and I was so excited that they had one of my favorite beers of all time on tap. So shout out to the folks at Good Fire Brewing. Absolutely a huge fan. But, as we move into the stadium itself, well, Timmy, first off, I think we know why you didn't get there early. It was nice that you didn't get this high-speed notification that Sarah is calling out in the chat. So, good for you, doing your job on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who Matt Hand said it to. I missed 3 exits on the way up there. I feel like we actually would have made it, including I missed the same exit twice one time. But
and for the record, you told us the first one was in Attleboro.
yeah,
that's where
it was truly a disaster class by me. And I feel like Matt Hands is going to stop traveling to games with me because it wasn't great in Colorado either.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, you missed
we
too. Picking me up
and we took the wrong rental car off the lot at the airport. But
this is very concerning because I know what you do for work and where you work, and this is really concerning.
Yeah. Wait, did Tom Caron know what was going on? Was he
he was kitted out, my friend?
Amazing. That's cool.
Yeah, I've seen him somewhere else too, like on broadcast or whatever. So he's been one of their more visible supporters, given that he's an owner there. He was hanging out in there for a while. He had the kit on, beautiful kit, by the way, that he had on. So it was cool to see him.
Absolutely. So Timmy, you did get to the school first. So how do you think about, obviously we know Portland is going to have their own stadium opening. It's actually the same weekend as Rhode Island FC's, but what did you think of the atmosphere over in Livingston?
I mean, usually coming on after an away day, I like to get in my pot shots. Like I was saying, I thought Charleston, which I went to for the season opener, was pretty pathetic atmosphere and less than half full stadium, to be honest. So I was honestly kind of blown away last night. And that's not even their home stadium. Like you guys were saying, they're playing 40 minutes north of where they're going to be playing. Matt and I drove by Fitzpatrick, which looks really similar to the high school that they were playing at last night, which also coincidentally reminded me of Bern. I don't know. You guys probably felt similarly.
Basically the same exact setup. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, if I'm being perfectly honest, and I know they've only played a couple of home games, but if we had a 3rd round Open Cup game at Bern last season on a rainy night in April, would we have had the place as packed as they did? I'm not sure. I mean, I know the Sickos would have been there, but that place was packed and it was bouncing at a lot of times. Credit to them for sure.
And Timmy, this is big of you because you were dying to hate Portland.
And I do. I do. I thought there were some really annoying fans. There were some goofy people doing the main character basically right below us. Had a good time hearing the bad chirps that they had to yell back at us. And I don't like the fans, but appreciated what they brought as a unit. I honestly, like Tyler said in that comment there, got to give them a lot of credit for that.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite things when we walked in, they were giving out this free main water. Talked to Matt before the show and he's like, you have to shut out the main water. And I completely agree. That was really cool, especially on a venue where you couldn't there's no alcohol sales, there's no nothing. So these tall boys of water were very appreciated. But I think one of the big things to get to before the match started is they had a big announcement that day, a new signing. And it was this Moose. I did not write down his name. Got to be honest, I was a little intimidated by that. I was like, that's a great seal, logo for the team, kind of thing that they can rally around, the moose. I was trying to find moose facts that were kind of really disparaging. Couldn't find much. Moose, a very impressive animal. But then we pull up, and I got permission from Matt to show this. This is the moose with Matt's children, and as you'll see, the moose tremendously tiny. I think I was taller than the moose. If you've met me, you know that is not something that's great. So dare I say they set themselves up to fail last night with this moose.
Yeah.
Did you guys see? Did you guys see the moose like started like he was like jeering up the fans and he started walking over to our section. It's like everyone's flipping him off. Like I have no idea why he thought walking over to the like Rhode Island support section was what a mascot should do.
I did enjoy. I mean, basically, the day that he's born, he's got a bunch of double birds flying at him as he's flying.
Well, to be clear, I know my guy Chip would be over in the other supporter section, giving them absolute hell and coming out of there on the other side. And yeah, Moxie, thank you, Matt, for letting us know. Like Moxie wanted nothing to do with the Rhode Island supporters group. And again, quite frankly, as a fellow short king, I don't know what was going on here, but you really want more of like a Andrew Hill in there, like a guy who's like 6-something versus me in that costume. So, for a club that's done absolutely everything spot on so far, I think this is a tough one for Portland to swallow.
Yeah, it was good though. It was fun to see him in action. You could tell he was getting a lot of love in the way that Chip was, and the mascot itself was pretty cool. I think Matt made a comment there in the chat about him not having duck boots, which seems like a miss for Maine to not have the guy wearing duck boots. But overall, it's a pretty cool moose and got the crowd going. And just to double back to Timmy's point, on a Tuesday night in the rain, which I guess for Maine, like that's a nice night out. But during the week,
okay, you take a lot of pod shots at Maine. Jeez.
I mean, Timmy hates them with like the fire of 1,000 suns. So like I actually enjoy them, and I was just genuinely really impressed by the crowd that they brought. And I understand that it's one of the first few home games, so they probably had a good amount of passion there. But like we have people complaining about going to Bern, 15 minutes away from Providence or from Pawtucket, and these people packed out, admittedly small stadium, but they had a really good crowd there, and it was 45 minutes away from the normal place that they're going to be. And I know there's a little bit extra juice there because of the rivalry with or the friendly rivalry with Rhode Island. But I was still impressed, and they were loud, and not just the supporters group. They did a really good job with their chants and their playing. Like they were very well coordinated. They were loud. I think we thought some of their chants were corny, but for what they were doing, they did a tremendous job. But the rest of the crowd was really into it too, and especially when they scored that goal late, which we'll get to. Like the crowd rose to its feet. They were into it, and I just was very impressed by that. And you look around the league. I mean, Charleston aside, that was a Saturday game, so I agree pathetic is probably the right word to use there. But for Open Cup games, when you look at these Open Cup games, generally speaking, you don't see many people there. So the fact that they had that many people there for a new team was very impressive to me.
No, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, the whole driving distance thing, Andrew, you grew up here, man. Like 15 minutes is an absolute eternity to us Rhode Islanders, man. So
I get it. I'm just giving them credit for the fact that it's 45 minutes away and they still showed up. Yeah.
Yeah, and did I take that into account when I booked a hotel in Lewiston and then had to commute back to Boston this morning? Absolutely not. Really wish I took that extra 40 minutes into account instead of just mentally thinking.
I had a 2-hour ride home, and I knew it. Like I knew it was going to be staying over. I was going to drive back. So when I got in the car after the game and I saw I had 2 hours and 45 minutes ride home, I was like, God damn it! I did not expect this to be a 3-hour drive home.
Absolutely tough stuff. But yeah, I really wanted to get the Moose slander in there before we get to the lineup here. So. Here we go. The lineup here. So we had Aldair Sanchez, Grant Stoneman, Karifa Yao, Frank Nodarse, and Clay Holstad as your kind of back five there. We had Temu, Zach Harabow, kind of as your midfield duo with Amos Shapiro-Thompson, Joe Brito, and JJ Williams up front. And I cannot forget the main man, Jackson Lee, in goal. I know that who was going to start and who was going to play was a kind of thing we talked honestly ad nauseum, especially amongst ourselves going into this one. Kano could really do a lot of things. This is a team that has a pretty good amount of depth, especially in specific positions. So, Andrew, what do you think about the lineup going into this?
I had no idea what to expect. Like zero clue. I honestly thought there'd be a little bit more rotation. I think the fact that we had an Open Cup disappointment last year, coupled with the fact that we had a bit of a slow start so far this year, added to the fact that we played them twice in preseason and they came out as 2 draws. And from what we understand from the Durga Union guys, they were chippy and saw a couple of red cards. Like I think that all added a little bit of extra motivation and juice for this game. So I didn't expect there to be a ton of rotation. I did think there would be a little bit more. And like I thought we'd be seeing Rio start, given the fact that he's on a 25-day contract. There's some of these guys that we thought would either start or play more. So I wasn't totally shocked by the lineup, but like it was more just because I didn't really know what to expect going in. But in saying that, when we were at Crapper Underground and we saw that, like you were next to me and we were looking at it with Matt, like I think we were generally happy with it. It seemed like there was intent in this lineup, and it was a lineup that showed that we're going for it while still allowing for some rotation.
Yeah, Timmy, what'd you think?
Anyone who was in the stands in the rain at 6 p.m. can confirm that I was saying it then, and I'll say it now. I thought it was a little heavy on the rotation. I was looking to see probably maybe 3 like outfield changes outside of Jackson Lee, which I think we all knew and expected that he would start. I think there was 5 outfield changes from the lineup we played against Oakland, and knowing Dikwa and Ibarra were on the injury report, didn't make the bench. I don't think there's a ton we could have done different, but I was nervous when I saw the lineup heading into the game, and without spoiling the in-game takes, like I think a fair amount of what I was nervous about did kind of materialize with this lineup. But obviously, we got the result. So score 1 for Kano, 0 for me.
I mean, you can't be dooming on the lineup after you already know the outcome, but I do think at the Underground, it was like lineups out and every single person went to their phone to like change and tweak their club collector, which I, honestly, it brought a tear to my eye just seeing everyone so invested, which is not helping me because I'm doing horrific at club collector so far this year. But yeah, as we get into the first half here, it was kind of a nervy start, not nervy, but it was cagey. It was kind of back and forth. No one seemed to have a ton of control. I think maybe on balance, it might have been a little more RIFC, but I think the first kind of big chance of the night really came from Portland, and we saw Jackson Lee really get into action, which I think is, one of those things where when you kind of compare the two keepers, I think this is where we think Jackson can shine. So here we go.
Right, does go for a goal, and it's saved by Lee. Oh, what a strike that was. Lee had to spring into action, out for a corner. About 35 yards away.
Well, 2 free kicks, and it's right with the initial one. Lee does well.
Yeah, so Jackson getting some action there. I'm not going to call it early action. It was in the 30th minute, but a great kind of full stretch there. Parries it out. Yeah, Timmy, what'd you think there?
I mean, that was an incredible save. I feel like we cheered that like we scored a goal when he saved that, but also like I don't think anyone was particularly surprised because that is kind of what Jackson does, and that is his strength is the shot blocking. Matt makes a comment, Koke parries that into the top corner. For me, like I don't know about the top corner. Do I think he could have spilled it back into the field of play? Potentially, yeah.
I don't.
And so I thought it was a great save. I also thought it was a great free kick. I actually thought Ollie Wright for Portland, who was playing in front of us in the first half, was like a pretty good spark for them. I liked his game. The free kick was nice, but the save was even better.
Absolutely. What about you, Andrew?
Yeah, fully agree. I mean, it was also the end of the field that we were on, so kind of pretty much right in front of us. We saw him lining up for it. You kind of knew that there was a good chance he was going to try to rip it from there, but Jackson was ready for it, and he's good at those saves. We saw him a lot last year. I think for us, being fans of his too, being able to see him in action for the first time in a while, and knowing that he suffered, a decent injury right before the Cup final last year. So getting to see what he actually looks like live was fun. And for that one, he was certainly up for it. And for most of the match, I think he performed really well. So it's good to see it. It was good to see it, especially at that point in the game. 30th minute, I agree. That first 30 minutes, it didn't feel to me like Rhode Island really took control of it. In fact, up until that point, I think I looked back at Timmy at one point or Matt and said, it feels as if that we are not on top at all, that it was Portland that really had more of the possession. And I think what I expected going in was that Portland, given their style and what we heard from them about them, was that they were more likely to absorb pressure and then go direct. And it honestly felt like, I don't know what the possession stats were through that point, but it felt like Portland had more of the ball. And if they didn't, I think they had more intention when they had the ball, and the possession that Rhode Island had really didn't do a ton with it. It didn't feel like they were really stringing together a lot of passes. It just felt like Portland was more on top of things and starting to build a little bit of momentum, at least through that point. So for them to have that opportunity in the 30th minute, if they had scored then, that would have been a very, very difficult match from that point forward. So great on Jackson for doing what he should do and keeping us in it.
Absolutely. And I think, you might say that may have woke us up because from there on, RIFC have kind of similar to the Oakland game where they have a little bit of a barrage for the other team. And we get Clay Holstead on the board here.
Out to Burrito, served, back post, Holstead scores! Takes it perfectly out of the air, and Rhode Island strikes first.
Is there anyone cooler than Clay Holstead?
No.
It was nonchalant, like whatever.
I think most of us probably had friends in high school that were just like really gifted athletically, and everything they do is just like they're just so good at. And that's what Clay is. Like, he's just good at everything.
Do you think he didn't celebrate because it wasn't like a screamer into the top corner? So he was like concerned they were going to rule it out because it wasn't like off the post or something cool.
By his standards, that was a shit goal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Portland will give you one back because it didn't count. But I mean, Timmy, what'd you make of that one?
Yeah, I mean, Andrew already said it. Like by that's probably the least impressive goal that we've seen Clay score. And I was watching it back this morning. I think a lot of players would actually have fluffed that chance. Like it's a really nice cross from Alder. I think the broadcast says it's Joe Brito. I'm pretty sure it's Alder Sanchez. Really nice cross, but not an easy finish by any means. Like I certainly would have put it 30 feet over the net, but there's also a moment, and the horrible U.S. soccer highlight package doesn't show it, but I think Amos like takes a touch and holds up the ball between like 3 or 4 players to swing it out to Alder. It was Joe Brito-esque. It was I think one of the best bits of play from Amos as well. So nicely worked goal.
So I don't really have like a clear place to talk about Amos, but like I really thought of all the players on the night, he was one of my definitely like clear top performers. I don't think he had a ton of moments where he was able to shine technically, but I thought he was an absolute dog out there. The amount of hustle, the amount of play, like especially at the end of the game, he was sprinting around trying to press, especially when we were down a man for a bit. So really want to give him his flowers because I thought he was absolutely fantastic last night. Andrew, what'd you think?
I agree. He was his energy, which we kind of knew that about him, but we just haven't been able to see enough of him to really get full sample size of it. But his energy was great, and there was at one point late in the match where Noah had come on, or it was after he had come on. We were down a man, I think, at that point. And Noah was kind of like the tip of the spear there, playing as like the lone man up front with 2 lines of 4 behind him. And he didn't seem to have the same energy in his press as when Amos got near the ball. And then he just started chasing guys down. And I was like, no, that's what you should be doing. Like, you just came in the game. Amos has been there all game long. And it felt like it was a different level. And Amos was really trying to prove a point about his playing time for this year, and I'm sure missing all of last year too probably gives him that extra bit of motivation. But he was great, and that goal, the whole buildup was great. I mean, I think it started with JJ, and having him be when he's had that pairing with Deco, I think we've kind of seen him maybe alternate a bit of who's the guy that drops back and gets the ball. But in this setup where he was kind of surrounded by Amos and drawing a blank, Amos and the other guy,
Brito.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Burrito. The two of them kind of in the forward positions, but staying a little bit behind him. So the fact that JJ kind of came as far back as he was, played a good ball to Amos. Amos did a great job of turning that around, hit Elder, send it. So like that whole buildup was really something we hadn't seen through that any point in the game at that juncture. So being able to see that fluidity in the attack, which we saw a lot of late last year, was really exciting to see that to come together, and then the good finish by Clay at the end. But the biggest piece of that too, I think, was Amos's turn and being able to kind of just weave between a few players to find Elder.
Totally. And again, jumping way out of a line to talk a little bit more about Amos, but to me, what do you think about him getting the captain's armband from Zach?
Yeah, I loved to see that. Kind of interesting choice on the surface level when you think about the players, but I think the journey that he's had, being one of our first signings and then being injured all last season, like I think it was symbolic in some ways as well. And then there's no reason he doesn't deserve it. Andrew mentioned he had that like back press run in the 88th or 89th minute after a full game of battling for every single 50-50 ball. I do have a slight nitpick that I want to say on that point.
Folks, you're witnessing like how Timmy gets to his 5s and 4s on the player ratings live right now.
No,
compliment, and then doc.
It's more of a tactical critique, and like again, we had kind of the benefit of him playing in front of us for some of the game, and like the number of aerial balls that he had to fight for. He's 5'8". Why are we hoofing the ball up to Amos? And so this was like an eye test thing. And then I was checking the stats this morning, writing the player ratings. He was 0 for 4 on aerial duels. Like, why are we hoofing it long to Amos Shapiro-Thompson?
Listen, it was a short king night. Moxie, Amos, me, all having fun out there. Kevin was in the stands. It was a good time. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that, especially in contrast to how much like JJ towered over their center backs. Like, I actually thought we probably had the 5 tallest people on the pitch, at least. Like, we were significantly had a size advantage on them. I wish we took more advantage of it throughout the match, but it is an interesting point, especially when we did have the advantage up front. But moving along, like I said, this was a goal barrage, and not too much later, we did see RIFC get a second through Mr. Frank Nadarse.
Does 1 become 2? Here's a free kick headed square. Still loose now. Struggling to clear their lines. Nadarse does make it 2. Compounding the issue for Portland, it's Frank Nadarse. Center back with a nose for goal, had 6 last season. Adds another now in Open Cup.
So I think there you kind of see a bit of the aerial advantage that RIFC, especially on that initial ball that went in, which I had a honestly clear header across the goal. We obviously don't get a head to it, but Frank with a really nice left-footed finish to get that in, especially for a center back there. So Andrew, can you make Matt Hans's night and talk maybe a little waxing about Mr. Frank Nadarse?
So to take one step back at that play to kind of JJ on that far side, we saw a lot of it last year, and they were really cooking with it, and we've started to see it a bit again this year. So I enjoy it. I think it works really well. It's one of those things that you can know that it's coming, but JJ is so big, and when you're sending the ball across, like he can just post up, take that spot, and then head it back into a dangerous area. So it was good to see it in that moment as they were starting to take the reins in the game, and then it was a very quality finish by Frank. I think that is not a typical defender's finish that you might see. So it's good to see him bury that first touch. Did a great job there. So another great play there. And on the aerial ability thing, I was surprised that we didn't see more, not necessarily more of that play, but more of JJ dominating in the box. So I agree with Tim there, where I thought given the size advantage and given just the fact that we have bigger, more physical players, that we were going to see more of that. When I was thinking about who was primed to have a great night, I thought JJ was near the top of that list because I thought he was going to be able to body people. And we didn't really see that, at least not in the most dangerous areas of the pitch. So I was a little disappointed we didn't see more of that, not just that play again, but just really that presence in the box.
Yeah, I mean, I think the JJ comment's really interesting because I actually think he held up his end of the bargain really well. We just didn't seem to have the bodies around him to then get that secondary ball, the recovery to then set people going. Could have been a personnel thing on the night. Obviously, not having a Chico Noah up there with him as a partner, and having Brito and Amos, who are definitely more of the kind of attacking midfielder role. But as we look at this one at halftime, I think again pretty 50-50 in terms of possession. But at the end of the half, I think you have to say Rhode Island FC were deserving of a lead. 5 total shots to Portland's 3. 1 big chance to Portland's 0. I think one thing we just were talking about here again on this height advantage in terms of aerial duels, Rhode Island FC won 71% of the aerial duels in the match. So there's clear advantages, and I thought we were trying to take advantage of them pretty well. But, overall, Timmy, looking into the first half, where was your takeaways at halftime?
I mean, like we talked about, first 30 minutes or so, I was nervous, but the way that we finished the half, those last 15 to 20 minutes, I completely naively and foolishly thought the game was over at halftime. I was like, warm up the buses, bring on the kids, we're done.
Were you saying that because you were getting a little chilly? Because I know you were complaining about that.
I was freezing from it was raining really hard before you guys got there, for the record. It's another part of the Matt Hands and I disaster class. But yeah, no, I kind of thought it was wrapped up, and I should have known better based on how every Portland Open Cup game or the Portland Hartford Open Cup game went. But yeah, I was wrong. The game was not over.
Andrew, I think it's a great segue from Timmy, but what were you thinking at halftime?
I felt really good. I mean, I had the same feeling. I didn't feel great for the first 30 minutes. Not like I felt like we were going to lose, but I felt that we could have and should have been more on top than what we were. So to see us really separate ourselves in that last third of the second half was great. And I knew Portland wasn't going to give up, but I really thought we were in prime position there to really just see out the game relatively safely. It felt like it was going to be a coast to victory, and it's just not how it turned out. But at halftime, I was feeling good. I didn't see them losing or really having much of a chance of losing once we got to that point.
And like I said, that is a great segue because Portland came out hot from halftime. They were definitely ready to play. I was waiting in an extremely long line for a porta potty, which was at the end that Portland was shooting on, and all the play was down there, including this goal from Portland, which I did not see until I uploaded this video for the podcast right now. So yeah, a lot of thoughts here.
Does one become?
Nope.
It's really just putting things together. They're not putting things together right now. Maybe they do so here, though. Washington off to the races, goes for a goal, and scores!
So a lot to talk about in this one. Again, I only saw it like about 20 minutes ago or a little longer ago than that. But yeah, we'll start with you, Andrew. What was your thoughts on that one?
I just love your commitment to missing action when you go to games.
I miss goals like frequently, like waiting in line for porta potties. It's like a USL experience that you can't get anywhere else, folks.
Exactly. So in the second half, it didn't feel like we lost control of the game, but it did feel like Portland was giving it their best. And with all the different subs that we were making, a lot of them didn't make a ton of sense to me just because of people kind of playing in odd positions and some of the they weren't one for one subs like we typically see, but it just felt a bit odd to kind of know where people are and how we're looking to see out the game. It almost felt like we were just trying to give people some minutes, given the fact that we had this bye week of sorts. But it didn't feel like we were losing control of it. But that goal, it was just emblematic of kind of a lot of what we've seen so far this season, where it's just kind of frantic defending. Like we just leave, gaps in the defense, ball goes through, and then we're just left scrambling and didn't quite get there. I thought it was a tremendous finish. Like it was hard to see from a great angle how much space was there between Jackson and the post, but it looked like he had it like really well covered. So I don't know how it managed to sneak in there. So just a great finish there, but frustrating to see our defense give up another one of those types of goals, particularly when we have a 2-goal lead. Like, why is there this much space back there when you're up 2-0 and you're looking to see the game out? Like just close this thing out, make it easy. It's a midweek game. We have a tough game coming up this weekend. Like, why are we allowing that much space behind our defense there?
Yeah, Timmy, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I the more I watch this goal, I actually have huge issues with it. I'm trying to be more conscious of like not every goal is our fault, and sometimes just a good goal gets scored. But this one is really bothering me. During the game, I thought that they got a ball over the top, and Washington just kind of burned us and got in. And I said, okay, that happens. But when I watch it back, there's three things that irritate me about it. One is his first touch is kind of bad, and Karifa, I feel, had an opportunity to get in front of him, but doesn't. I feel like Stoneman also has an opportunity to catch up and kind of pulls back, and he's not moving to mark someone else. He slows down behind him, confused about. And then I feel like Karifa has the far post blocked, if anything, but Jackson is off his line and giving a little bit of the near post, which is where the finish goes. And that was so, yeah, when I watched that one back, I just felt like there was a few errors that kind of led to that goal. And I feel like everyone on the Rhode Island FC side looks like stunned that goal happened. It like comes out of nowhere, and it was completely needless.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, I don't think a forward picking up the ball at the halfway line should be getting a kind of clear shot on goal, especially when he's literally being marked. So yeah, I mean, I don't have a huge problem with here. I think Karifa has the ability to handle that and should have handled that. I mean, slow the guy down, get a tackle and do something. The fact that the man can run 30 yards with the ball at his feet and you're not within a yard or so of him, I thought that was pretty poor. I think not getting a block on the shot, pretty poor. And I will say this, which I know is going to piss off the chat a lot, but I think Jackson can do better there. I mean, getting beat near side, I think if we talk about his shot stopping prowess, I think he's going to look back at that one saying he probably should have got at least a glove to it. Maybe it goes in. It was a well struck shot, but I really think he could have done better there.
I just couldn't see from the angle. Looking back at it, when I watched it live, my thought was just tremendous finish. Jackson couldn't get it. Yeah. Watching the replay, it feel like he might have been able to get there, but it's just hard to see from that angle. And it was hit with so much pace that I'm not really sure. So he's way down in my list because I don't know that he was at fault there. I think the word that I would use to describe the defense there was lackadaisical. Like all three of them were, right? Yeah. The fact that he had that space to take that ball and turn around was lackadaisical. Karifa should have been on him already. He was the only guy up there with all that space back there. He turned around, and him and Stoneman, Yao and Stoneman, but particularly Yao, took forever to get there. And I didn't catch it until Timmy had mentioned it. But Frank was extremely lackadaisical. He let his guy fly by. If there was a rebound there, his man would have been wide open right around the penalty spot. 0 people around him. He could have just tapped that in. Frank just gave up just as the guy was taking the shot. So lackadaisical defending. And my frustration with it is we saw lackadaisical defending throughout most of the beginning of the season. Then we had that players only meeting. It felt like they turned things around, but it felt like this is the type of defense that we've seen so far that I was hoping that we were going to stamp out. And against this quality of an opponent, it just felt like they let their guard down and were just like, that's fine. We're up to nothing. So that part was frustrating.
Yeah, and to be clear, my Jackson take got the chat fired up like I expected it to. And I'm not blaming Jackson here. I'm saying Jackson, I think today, having the high standards I know he does, will probably hope that he did better there. But I am totally aligned that the defense is to blame on this one. And I mean, this is what, game 4 or 5 for Rhode Island FC, and obviously they did pretty well against Oakland. But this has been a reoccurring habit and something that we saw early last season from this exact same group. So not setting the alarm bells off, but is anyone a little bit worried at this point?
I am, because we've seen it repeat through multiple games to the extent that they had their players only meeting, which granted I'm sure it wasn't focused on the defense. I'm sure it was around the effort overall. But I think that one of the more difficult aspects of their first several games was the fact that their defense was just too loose. Everything was just too loose. Their marking is too loose. Their reaction time was too loose. Their anticipation wasn't tight enough. And that was all on display in this one play in a cup game from your 3 starting defenders. Like this wasn't just some backups in there that are still trying to feel each other out and positioning and everything. Those are your 3 starting defenders that allowed that play to happen. Mm-hmm. And it's not like the guy who scored was a burner. He didn't just fly past people. He wasn't fast. Like he should have been caught. He shouldn't have the space. He shouldn't have been able to turn. He shouldn't have been caught.
Yep.
Should have been caught, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah. Timmy, anything to add there?
Yes, I want to add to the Jackson Lee stands, of which I am one. If you're honestly telling yourself, if Koke let that goal in, that you wouldn't have been saying, Lee saves that. Wait, I said it backwards.
No, you said it right.
You said it right.
You
really know how to make a really pointed point.
Yeah.
You're lying to yourself.
So what's I would be saying is Koke saves that. That's what that's the summary is Koke saves that.
I'm saying if Koke didn't save that, I would be saying Lee saves that.
Well, I mean, not to make this a whole goalkeeper thing, but like we talked about the Loudon game, and like that's half the podcast was about, Koke, should he have saved, should he not have saved when there were so many other issues. I'm again not blaming Jackson or Koke for either of those goals, but Timmy, I am 100% aligned with you here. All right, so at 2-1, I think we were all, feeling okay about the match. I think, we got into at least a bit of a rhythm, but it went from bad to worse with a Rhode Island FC going down to 10 men with Karifa Yao getting his 2nd yellow card here.
It gets everyone excited. Yeah, it gets everyone excited, though.
They have another free kick. Yes, they do. And another yellow card out there. Is it a sending off here? It is. It's Karifa Yao who picks it up. Wow. Back-to-back free kicks.
There's some confrontation there, and his boot goes up, and I can't even tell, I guess made eye contact with Wada there. Maybe that's a yellow, but the initial one?
So yeah, as the announcer there was alluding to, maybe makes contact, and obviously the first yellow that Karifa got was a little suspect here. But yeah, Andrew, what do you think of this red card for Yao, and maybe getting into the officiating on the night?
Yeah, the first foul on Karifa, I don't even think was a foul. Never mind a yellow card, and it just felt like a bad call. It felt like a very strange yellow given the way it had been officiated to that point in time. The second one, I couldn't really tell live. Like, I could tell he caught him, but I didn't really know if it was worthy of a yellow. Seeing the replays today, I don't think it's worth a yellow. Like, I can see the argument for one, but I don't think it should have been one. My bigger frustration with it is that we saw multiple occasions on the night where someone on a yellow picked up a foul that deserved a second yellow, and it was let go. And then Karifa, in the span of 90 seconds or whatever it was, gets 2 yellows. The first one was complete bullshit, and the second one was borderline. So the consistency, I think we were making a point really through the majority, the 70th minute or somewhere around there, that the ref was consistently bad. He was bad, but he was consistently bad. It just felt like every time a player went down, the whistle was blown, regardless of whether or not the player fell on their own. For both teams, like it was equally bad. But then at some point, a switch flipped, and then all of a sudden he stopped calling things, particularly if there were guys on yellows. So for him to go back then, to give a yellow that shouldn't have been given out, and then less than 2 minutes later, give a second yellow for another borderline one. It didn't make any sense to me. And I think we really had a lot of frustration with the way this game was officiated. We don't expect them to be perfect. We do expect consistency, but the consistency throughout the match really went up and down. And then the way it was officiated for the guys that were on yellows just made it even worse when you saw what he did with Karifa.
Yeah, Timmy, what do you think?
I mean, completely agree with all of that on the referee. I just thought they were terrible. It was really like start and stop game, a lot of easy calls, and like Andrew alluded to, like I swear, as Mikey Lopez for Portland, I swear he blew up 5 of our players in the midfield while he was already on a yellow, and it took him until was it the 87th minute. He did eventually get sent off, but he could have been sent off 30 minutes before he was, and I mean, agree. Like the fouls on Karifa, the first one was horrible and the second one was tacky, but you can't give them the chance to give you the second one when you're already on a yellow. So I mean, I hold that against him a little bit. But yeah, I mean, watching the replay and again just now, it's a really soft second yellow after a terrible first yellow, but you still gotta take the circumstances into account and then maybe keep your foot down there.
Yeah, I see a comment in the chat that I thought was one thing that was really cool about where we were, watching the game at a high school field, but we were like on top of the Rhode Island bench and watching the team kind of scramble and get subs ready and kind of make strategic decisions. There was this cool iPad set up where they were like showing the team tactics. I thought that was a really cool thing that you kind of can't really get at a bigger stadium. So yeah, just wanted to bring that up, and yeah, shout out to Kevin for bringing that up. And we could literally hear them all talking, and it was very entertaining to say the least.
And given where our angle was too, I thought for sure we're going to see our first Kano yellow card, of which there's probably going to be many this year, like there was last year. He was just standing there coolly, and then the ref went over to give the assistant coach a yellow card. But I was like, all right, we're going to get our first Kano yellow.
I mean, I'm not going to out him on some stuff, but he was trending that way for a little bit. But yeah, so obviously with this referee performance and these red cards that we were talking about, we did see another red card come into play just minutes later.
It gets everyone excited.
Yeah.
It gets everyone excited.
Nope, that's the same one.
No.
Looking for Washington. James tries to turn. He's taken down. He's out for a penalty. More contact there, and it goes against Portland in the end.
And look who was up there. It was Lopez, so maybe he heard us and got up there, but man, lots of challenges there.
And he's going to even the playing field. That's why these Rhode Island players were adamant in swarming the referee.
Nothing was called. This ball's played across right here. There's that tug, and then there's a mistouch, so Lopez decides to commit to it. He's just too late.
So, I mean, I think that one is as clear as possible. I mean, you see Jackson sprint 25 yards to the ref to talk to him about it. You saw Maxey in there immediately. You saw Grant in there immediately. I mean, if you're going to call the one on Karifa, you have to call that one, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, and as Timmy alluded to, he had many second yellow card worthy plays leading up to that. So he had really earned it. And whenever, I mean, it looked like a stamp either way. Like it was a foul where it took out a guy that he had no, he wasn't anywhere near the ball, so it would have been a yellow, particularly if he stamped him there. So it's, I think there was no question that it should have been a second yellow, and made it. It's still, even after we got it, it still felt like, all right, this is still going to have to be, holding out to receipts for the remainder of the game, because it didn't feel like the momentum of where the game was at that point in time, holding out to see was going to change. They were just going to have one less player as they were pouring it on, but deserved second yellow.
Absolutely. Timmy, what do you think?
Agree. And the only thing that made it even sweeter was that I feel like the Portland fans thought they had a penalty shout in the sequence immediately leading up to it, which is always my favorite. Well, when it goes your way, always my favorite when it like ping pongs the complete opposite direction.
One of the issues I had with the officiating too was that because of the way that inconsistency in the calls, every time a player went down, I legitimately didn't know what was going to happen. What is he calling a foul? If he is, what team is he going to call it for? Is it going to be a yellow? There was just, so when Frank ended up going down there, for a second there I was like, he actually called a penalty. Like, please tell me he didn't call a penalty here. You have no idea what the official was going to do on the night.
I mean, that's when you have a strong command of the game, is when people who are like not too far away from the pitch as you are have absolutely no idea what you're about to do when you blow the whistle. That's always good. Keeps everybody on their toes. But so even with this, the players on the pitch, again, I think Portland really kept pouring it on, and it really culminates in this final save by Jackson, which I thought was absolutely incredible here.
Goes short. James goes for goal. Saved by Jackson Lee. A corner. Will they have time to take it?
A little bit, probably needs to recover too, but a very good take from Nathaniel James, almost sneaking in that near.
So dare I say that one is the better of the two on the night, Timmy?
I think it's the better save. Do you think it was going wide?
Oh, bro, we can't have any fun in this world, Timmy. Okay, Andrew, what'd you think of it? What'd you think?
I think it was a more impressive save. I also question whether or not it was going in. I think it might have been. So I think you have to save that. It's not like if he had let that go and it hit off the post, I think we'd be bashing him and saying, like, what are you doing? You can't let that go. So, but that was full extension and with less. I think there was more whip on that ball, so he had less time to really get to it than he did on the first one in that first half. So it was an impressive deflection there at a obviously really critical time in the game. Like we thought the whistle was going to blow any second there, and then obviously continued on even with the corner kick after that. But I thought it was a tremendous save from Jackson, and I do think it was a more impressive save than the first one.
Yeah, I mean, I think like especially the fact that it was shot through bodies and you had to try to find it kind of late there. I think that's what makes it especially impressive. He's at the full stretch. He gets his palms on it, and if it's going on net or maybe slightly wide, he has to get a palm on it or a glove on it. And I thought that was really impressive stuff. So shout out to Jackson. I think, especially his first start of the year coming off a long-term injury, I think he really played really, really well there. So shout out to Jackson, especially for his awesome picture he took with the Tide Talk crew at the end of the match there.
I want to be clear. I thought he was
probably we already passed. You already had your chance in the second.
I think he was probably our best and most important player on the night. I'm keeping the glaze realistic.
Again, so this is why the player ratings are what they are. You can read them tomorrow morning, coming out on TideTalkRI.com from Timmy. But as we look here at the full-time stats here, so as you see in the second half here, it was really all Portland. 6 shots to 2. They had 71% of the possession. They had one big chance. They actually missed it. So interesting stuff there. And just looking here, the aerial duels, you'll see they did even up a bit more. So I think Portland got a bit more control of the match. But overall ends 2 red cards, 2-1 Rhode Island FC. But yeah, gentlemen, final thoughts on this one.
I mean, mine are relatively brief. Like, I guess on one hand, I think it should have been a more comfortable win playing against USL League One team that hasn't had a great start to the season, despite the impressive win over the worst team in the USL Championship in their first game in the Open Cup. But I mean, we went to Maine against a local rival. We made 6 changes to our winning lineup.
I think you're gonna say we made 6. We made friends, but keep going.
No friends. Yeah. So I mean, job done. It's not 3 points because it's a cup game, but 3 points is 3 points. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, hard not to be pleased with it, but I was certainly more clenched than I expected to be for the last 30 minutes of the game.
Andrew, please tell me you're at least a little happy here. Jeez Louise.
I am happy. I mean, I do have some of those mixed feelings in terms of their performance, but it was a tough place to play, a high school field on a rainy night against a very scrappy opponent. Like, yeah, they haven't really won in regulation or done great, but they've been really difficult to play against and to break down and to score goals against. So my hesitation with it is more of I was hoping to kind of build on the momentum of that last game going into TCFC. And I think from a team vibes perspective, they probably did. Like they were clearly very excited to pick up that Open Cup win. These cup games are always scrappy and difficult, regardless of the levels between the teams. So for all those reasons, I'm excited and I'm happy that they can take the happy momentum to Detroit to play Detroit City this weekend. But I also would have wished it was more comfortable win. And I thought we were going to get that. Like we talked about it before at halftime. I thought it was going to turn into that, and it didn't. But credit to Portland. I mean, that's what they've done all season long and in this short season and in their short lifespan so far is they've made things difficult for the other team. So, it's credit to them for doing that on their home field on a Tuesday night in a packed crowd.
Absolutely. So we will turn to the socials here, and if you weren't able to get your RIFC in 3 or good, better, best in on our socials, please drop it in the chat here, and we'll get to that. But checking out the Defiant 1636 Discord, we got Leo O, who always knows ball. His RIFC in 3 is Stingy Soaked Splinters. That was a tough one to say, Leo. We got Tyler with Up the Tide. I don't know if that was his official one, but absolutely love it. We got Nate Ski, Up the Tide RIFC. We got Andrew Gomes, the Heartbreak Kids he even did the GIF, which was awesome there. We have Timmy with Worth the Drive, his good, Jackson Lee, his better, the traveling support, and his best, the first RIFC Open Cup win. Timmy, this morning you were so joyful and happy about this win. What happened?
I'm still buzzing about the entire experience.
We have Craig here with good AST, bad Clay's passing, ugly. The guy in the red shirt. I mean, Craig, we're doing good, better, best. He's dooming as well. What's going on here? We got Tyler Hatch here with his slaughtered that moose. Jeez, he was a little guy.
It's aggressive. It's aggressive.
You're not allowed to kill moose that small. Good. Seeing the team in person for the first time in 2025. We'll probably get back to that because I think that was a kind of my big takeaway from last night as well. Better killed the game off after going down a man, and best lead stoppage time save. We got Matt Hands here. His 3 chip greater than symbol Moxie. I thought that was a very clever use of the RIFC in 3 format. Matt Hands. His good, Frank on the score sheet. Better, Jackson Lee. Best, first Open Cup win. Andrew H had Lee saved that, which is absolutely correct here. We also have Taris with 3. What a night. Good, traveling support. Better, what a game. Best, we won. We got Deezer here with onward and upward is RIFC in 3. His good at the offense in the first half. Better, managing to work around an ... inconsistent ref. That's very kind of you, Deezer. That guy absolutely sucked. That's my words, not Deezer's. And Deezer's best here is Jackson Lee. Natesky here with his RIFC in 3. Finally a win. His good, goals, better, Road Warriors, best, Lee. Leo's back with his good, better, best. His good, able to limit dangerous chances from a gritty side with clear talent. Better, Frank getting on the score sheet, hopefully boosting his confidence. And best, getting the moose off our backs for our first ever U.S. Open Cup win. Very clever there, Leo. As we turn to Facebook here, we had actually, I'm going to go to Facebook last year. We have on Twitter, we got Matt Kerwin here. C takes North. The man said a couple IPAs today. We'll let that one. We'll figure that one out later. His good, Amos. His better, Jackson Lee. His best, Road Warriors away day. We have the outsider RFC fanboy here with Tree Fall Down. We got FQB with FQB the keeper. I don't know if Kevin's going to want to keep talking about his keeper performance because, we want to talk about spillage and parrying. It wasn't a clean catch. And then we got Craig here with the Heartbreaker Crew, which you gotta love. And like I said, we're gonna go back to Facebook here. We got Nate Ski with On to the Revs. And our final one here from Paul Lee, solid in goal. And I think we all can agree with Mr. Lee on that one here. But that'll do it for the Portland Hearts of Pine. And as Andrew segued here with, we are going to talk a little bit about our matchup with Detroit here as I get back to my notes. So Detroit City, they are a team that we've faced a couple times now. I think we kind of know them a bit. Looking at Detroit City, and if you went to our live shows, you will recognize one of these slides, but they're currently second place in the USL Championship Eastern Conference. Bit of a mixed bag with a win, draw, loss, draw, win here. Again, pretty even on goals for and against. They're right in the mid pack of goals per match and goals conceded here. So, I mean, just at that top line, Andrew, how are you feeling going into Saturday, and how like Detroit's season's gone so far?
Not great is the way I would put it. I mean, this is the end of a very long set of away games against a quality opponent and a difficult place to play. And we're in a spot where we really haven't played great. We did well in Oakland, but it was against a team that lost last night to a League One team in the Open Cup. So Oakland's really hasn't done a ton to show that they are a quality opponent, and that's the one game where we really look good. And then today, like we said, it wasn't last night wasn't really a super comfortable win. So I think the spirit of the team is pretty high, and I hope that that's enough to really carry them, knowing that they have this long stretch of a lot of mostly home games here. But I don't feel great about the cohesiveness of the team and the way that we're playing. And then we also really don't know what the injury status is of both Chico and Ibarra, and those are difficult losses to have. Maybe less so Ibarra, given the fact the way that the rotation has gone with them so far. But we're shorthanded going into this game. So you add all that, put it in the soup, and I don't really feel great about this match against a difficult team.
Yeah, and I think we were there last night. We saw Ibarra there. He's in a boot, so that's never a great sign. But hopefully it's just something precautionary. We know absolutely nothing beyond what we saw, but yeah, that's gonna be tough. But Timmy, how you feeling about Detroit? And obviously one of the big things about Detroit is they lost this guy named Maxi Rodriguez. You may have heard of him in the offseason. So I think some of us thought it'd be a rebuilding year. But yeah, Timmy, so far looking okay.
Yeah, I mean, roles are reversed on this one. I'm feeling like we can go to Detroit and get a result, to be honest. I think
you fellas are just a mystery box on here.
We just like to keep you on your toes. Yeah, I mean, they're in second place, but I don't think any of their results have been all that impressive. Yeah. They beat Miami, which we all know that doesn't mean much. They beat Colorado Springs, who it feels like a boogeyman to all of us, but it's actually had a pretty slow start to their season. They drew with Birmingham, who's had a slow start to the season, lost to Louisville, which everyone does, and then drew with Monterey Bay, and then they had that fluky win against Phoenix last week. Or I call it fluky. They scored 3 goals in the last 10 minutes of the game. After
that was weird. Yeah.
So, I mean, I get the points are the points, and they're in second place. And, we had a tough time against them last season, but again, not super impressed by any of their results so far this season. I think a lot of the not super deep, but like some of the underlying stats, just kind of scrolling through on FootMob, like they're pretty middling to bottom half. So I think the injury shout is a great call from Andrew. I think no Dikwa and no Ibarra would be a huge blow, and that would rattle my confidence a little bit, but no reason I don't think we can go to Detroit and at least get a draw, if not a win.
Yeah, and shout out to Matt Hands in the chat. He did give us the update that DCFC did win in their Open Cup match tonight, 3-1 over Westchester with 2 late goals. So, a little bit more momentum for them. But as we get to some players to watch here, start getting your score predictions in the chat, and we'll go through ours. But just some players to watch, and I'll be very honest with all of you. These were just like kind of the highest guys on FOTMob, and we're rolling with it. But Jay Chapman, he's their DM. He was on the team last year. Really their engine at the back, or kind of in that midfield. He had 71 touches per 90, and kind of a lot of their play does go through him. We got Michael Bryant, who just, I think, has a I was like itching my screen to get the dirt off of his upper lip, but it looks like it's real. He's one of their center backs. currently 88th percentile in duels 1 per 90. So definitely could be an interesting battle up there between probably JJ and maybe some of our other wingers or forwards. And finally, we have Darren Smith here, number 7. He's a striker. He currently leads the team in goals with 4 goals in these 7 matches they played. So, they've kind of been able to, you can't replace Maxi Rodriguez, with one person. You can replace on an aggregate, and it seems like they're doing a pretty good job at that so far. But anyone else you guys want to call out?
No, I think just I've got my eye on Darren Smith. Obviously, you just mentioned he leads the team with 4 goals. I don't think anyone else on the team has more than 1.
Yeah.
I just tried while you were speaking to it to look up where he came from, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce the leagues or clubs that he's played
Can
at
we get
previously.
a country at least?
I think he's South African.
Oh wow, okay. Well, maybe if someone buys you a beer at the Guild, you'll go for it. Probably better to not do that on air. Awesome. All right, everybody. So like I said, please get those score predictions in the chat here. But anyone want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I'm leaning. See, I had this typed up in the Discord this morning for the prediction league. I'm gonna. Once I say it here, I'm locked in, aren't I? I want to know. I want to know our lineup.
I mean, you listen. You're not locked in, but you'd be a forever flip flopper. So it is the blessing and curse of being on air.
I saw the fallout last year from Matt Hans giving one prediction somewhere and then a different one in the blog. So
he did get bullied off the face of the earth. So yeah,
I'm gonna stick with my gut again. I typed it in this morning. I'll submit it tonight. I'm going 1-1 draw.
Okay. Andrew, how about you?
I'm dooming. I'm gonna say 2-1 Detroit City.
Oh, let's see here. I haven't thought about this even for a minute. You know what? I'm gonna go 2-1 Royal FC. I think we're gonna kind of go in there and shock them a bit. I think this is, if you were to circle some of the matches on our initial run, it would have been one that we might have been, a little concerned about. But it was a week where we had a lot shorter travel. I think we did a good job rotating kind of key players last night and keeping minutes low and legs fresh. The trip to Detroit's very chill, no big deal there. And I think they're kind of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel of these road trips of, they just have the Detroit trip, the trip to Westchester, and they're playing in front of the home fans. So, I think they understand they got to start getting points on the board, and, more to come here. But looks like we just did get the one in the chat from Kevin, who also has it 2-1. So Kevin does know ball. And then we got a late breaking one with Tyler at 0-0. The doomest of all kind of potential, just because it won't even be fun to watch. So shout out to Tyler. But
so your predictions, the two of you, well, I guess Timmy was a tie there, but what is it? Is it more Detroit City not being great so far? That's good. Like I don't have a ton of confidence in the way the team has played so far to make me think they go into a difficult place and win. And Detroit is in second. And granted, the stats haven't been amazing, but they've been difficult to knock out. Like late goals against Phoenix, late goals against Westchester. Like it's not like they're burning teams down, but they're a difficult team to break down. And we're on the road, and we've been on the road for what feels like eternity. So I almost see that as a separate argument of seeing the light of like, we just got to get through one more, and then we're going to be at home and have home cooking in our new stadium. I could see this being kind of a letdown game. And I'll be honest, I think that what we talked about earlier with the lazy defending, that frustrated me a lot because I thought that that's what they were turning the corner on. So to see it crop up again tells me that they're still not quite at the level they need to be in terms of just focus to play a team like this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we also. I mean, I was saying at halftime, like I was ready to go. I thought the game was over. I don't know if perhaps we switched off a little bit as well. And I guess what I'm trying to say is like the sort of cliched take of playing up or down to the competition. And I hope that we have want to beat Detroit City because of the way that our 2 games went against them last season. I hope that they will have also looked at the Detroit City results and thought they're in second place, but what have they really done? And feel a little bit more confident going into it. I haven't watched enough of them, just being completely honest, to know like how bad they're going to punish our defenders with the way that we've started the season, but I'm just trying to have a little bit of faith, and I do think like we started the season with 4 like pretty long distance travel games, and I guess to Ryan's point about like starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, we're not going to the West Coast again. We're not. I guess we are getting on a flight, but
Guys, it's like an hour in the air. It's like I've done it so many times.
Yeah, and just Portland, they had 50 of us there cheering them on. So then they have one road game. Hopefully, they're going to have an even better turnout in Westchester. I don't know how much these things actually impact the players, but in my head, they're super impactful. So I'm just trying to be optimistic, man.
Listen, I'll go optimistic here. We are currently on a winning streak. We got 2 games in a row. We've won. Obviously there's nits to pick in all those games, but they went on the road. They played in the Coliseum against an Oakland team that I don't think was very good. And then they beat a Portland team who, if anything, played their asses off in that game. If you want to get and against a ref who was doing his best to make it a pretty terrible game on the night. So, the distance is less. They're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. If there's any team in the league, they probably want to get one over on. There's a couple, but I can't imagine Detroit's not. Detroit's pretty high in that list with the 2 games we played with them last year. So, at the same time, this is the same team at the core that went on the road and went in some really hostile environments and took away playoff wins, and I could see them really enjoying kind of playing spoiler on this Detroit run. So, I don't have a ton of data or a ton of tactical reasons why we're going to win this game. This is a purely vibes play, and I am very okay with that.
I'm good. I got the answer, and I can see anything happening this weekend. It's so early in the year. We don't know what these teams are yet, and even when we do, we saw last year that there were so many teams that just went on a run, good or bad, at the beginning of the year, and then they'd be a completely different team by midseason. So we don't really know what we're going to get out of them. So I'm hoping that you're right, that this is really going to be a game that hopefully kind of wakes them up and going into this home stretch.
Well, if it makes everyone feel better, I'm usually wrong, but hey, hopefully this time. But yeah, I mean, I think you made a great point there about kind of the streakiness of this league. I mean, look at Indy last year. They were like undefeated, like well into the season, basically, or not undefeated, but went on some crazy winning streak long into the season. Loudon, both last year and this year, started off super hot. And, last year they fell off the face of the earth. We'll see what they do this year. They're obviously currently winning the Players' Shield if the season ended today. So, this league changes constantly. I think the form changes constantly. Teams are figuring each other out. They're watching more tape. They're updating their tactics. So, that's what makes the sport fun. It makes this league fun. And, we'll see what happens. Like any given Saturday, as they say.
Yeah, I also think there are some light signs of showing that we did build on the progress from Oakland. Like the only 2 that really come to mind for me. One is I feel like Clay is kind of starting to cook at that right wing back position with a goal and assist against Oakland. He obviously had the good goal last night with that sort of far post, almost Steven Turnbull-esque goal. And then I think it was Ryan who said it earlier as well. Like I think JJ had another really good performance and as Ryan put it, held up his end of the bargain with winning the aerial duels, flicking on, doing the things that cause chaos, that work when we have finishers and people who are more familiar with that play up top, even if we didn't necessarily have them and it didn't always work out in Portland. So I still think there were some signs in the performance that were moving in the right direction and building on what we saw in Oakland.
To the JJ point, and I didn't factor this into my prediction, which I should have, after the match when the players came over, I shook JJ's hand and asked him to bag a brace this weekend, and he agreed. So
lock it in.
He's scoring at least 2, right? JJ's scoring at least 2.
His answer was one of the funniest things. He was just like, yeah, sure, man. Yeah, simply. Again, like just to go back to the Portland match, like one of the coolest things about last night was, being like right there with all the players again and just kind of interacting with them. And just a good reminder that this is an awesome group of players. And they appreciate all the support that, people put into, following this team around and stuff like that. So I know a lot of you, who might not have been able to make it last night, will see them in Westchester, and then even more of you will see them May 3rd at home. But I think that'll really wrap things up tonight. So just a reminder that 25% of you are not subscribed to this podcast, allegedly. So please make sure to smash that subscribe button and give this episode a thumbs up. And just a reminder that Tide Talk is more than just a podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for daily social media content. Also have to shout out the blog at tidetalkri.com, where you can find player ratings, pre and post match analysis, and our take on the latest RIFC news. I've been your host, Ryan, and a big thank you to Timmy and Andrew for joining me tonight. You fellas almost have the face for live YouTube, which is great. But thank you, everyone, as always, for joining, and we'll see you next time. And as always, up the tide.
Up the Tide.